What's up, everyone? Dave from Fan Futsal here. Going to do a rapid match recap for the Houston versus Seattle Western Conference Finals first leg match that just completed. I have two separate scarves. It's not one of those half and halves, but I figured got all these scarves, I'd put them to use. So match ended Houston 0, Seattle 2. First off, quick rant before we get going here. I don't know what MLS is doing with the scheduling of this. You have two playoff matches going on right now in the entire league. I don't know why you have them overlap. So I ended up missing the first 20 minutes of this match because MLS overlapped the schedule. So that was incredibly frustrating. When the lineups came out, some of my thoughts based on the lineups, I thought it was interesting. Both teams were forced into using backup keepers for different situations, but I saw that, and I was interested to see how that would impact either team. I don't think it really impacted either team too much, but that was something interesting to see. Both rolled with a 4-2-3-1 formation initially. I mean, Houston's kind of got thrown out the window, and we'll get to that later. I thought Dempsey and Lodero, I didn't know how they were going to interact and work together, and I thought that they ended up working well. But again, it's really tough to analyze a match when there's an early red card, and so take all of this with a grain of salt that I'm gonna get into. Also, I did catch the walkout of the Houston game. What was going on in the tunnel before the match? There's like a strobe light. Is that the most effective thing for players to be seeing and for fans to be experiencing right before they walk out onto the field? So that was interesting. That's all my pre-match thoughts. Like I said, I missed the first 18 minutes because MLS scheduling and all of that. I did see Elise's header in the first 2 minutes that he was wide open and he didn't even hit the target. And that ultimately proved very, very costly. Saw Seattle scored on their corner kick. And from there, it was just all downhill for Houston for the most part. So I did tune in around the 18th minute or so. I noticed that Seattle was defending pretty deep and had a lot of numbers, specifically in the center of the field. They were seating a little bit out wide, and they were just kind of funneling and getting numbers centrally. The field in Houston is absolutely god-awful. It was popping up all over the place. Thank God nobody got really injured, but they really need to do something about that pitch because it was absolutely terrible. Controversial point of the match, which wasn't really too controversial. I thought Anibaba, definite red card. He wasn't going for the ball. Who'd he foul? I can't remember who he fouled, but he was in on goal. Wasn't going for the ball. Clear cut, red, penalty. Willis made an absolutely amazing save on the penalty to give Houston a little bit of a lifeline, but ultimately nothing from there. And then it's really tough to analyze after that. Houston really lost their heads, though. After that red card, I thought that they were committing a lot of fouls, rushing into tackles, not really maintaining shape and all of that, and that proved costly on the second goal. Houston really what they had to do after the red card was do what they did in the second half. Get organized, get into a shape, don't commit too many numbers forward, move as a unit, and they just didn't do that in the first half. Lodero and Dempsey both played in kind of free-floating roles, which was very easy to do when you're up a man. Didn't get much time to analyze that when they were playing even. Houston, when you're playing down a man, you cannot afford to give cheap giveaways, and there were tons of them in the first half. You need your center forwards, you need your team to complete passes and not give up easy possession. It's just soul-sucking when you give up possession easily when you're down a man, and they did that too often there. I thought Seattle needed to move the ball more quickly in the first half when they were up a man because Houston was getting really chippy, and when another team's getting chippy and you're up a man, just move the ball quick. It's not worth taking the knocks and potentially risking injury. So they need to keep the ball moving more quickly and get another goal or two. Elise, this is something that I realized right before the goal. There was an incident where he was man-marking Lodero on the ball. And so he did a pretty good job of actually defending him when Lodero had the ball. But as soon as Lodero played the ball, Elise completely switched off and wasn't paying attention anymore. He stood up. He just kind of started walking away. And I think it was Roldan, but somebody played the ball right back to Lodero, who was wide open. And Seattle didn't ultimately get a goal, but I wrote down right now that Seattle needed to go after Elise and his side of the field because he wasn't focused throughout the entire sequence of defending. And lo and behold, like a couple minutes later, Seattle came right down on Elise's side. He wasn't tracking back. They hit a wide open cross, Bruin with a fantastic header. And Wilmer Cabrera made the switch in the second half to correct for Elise. He pushed him up top. But in the first half, I thought that Houston was incredibly vulnerable down that side, and ultimately cost them at least the second goal. Houston got frustrated and chippy. Already mentioned that. Seattle needed to keep their heads. There was one incident with I think it was Martinez. I could be getting his name wrong, but 25 on Houston, who had a coming together with. It's not Lagerway, the outside back for Seattle, and then with Lodero, and then Seattle players got into it. I mean, in that situation, Houston's trying to goat them into getting a card. Seattle just needed to walk away. I thought it could get ugly at that point, and I was really nervous for how the second half was going to play out at the end of the first half. Ultimately, wasn't too bad, and Houston actually had some pretty good opportunities in the second half, which I'll get to in 1 second. I thought the halftime talk for Houston was going to be critical for Wilmer Cabrera, and I thought he did a fantastic job based on how they played in the second half, because they were completely disorganized and were just getting way too stretched as a unit. They needed to play, either commit to just knocking long balls and not committing numbers forward, or moving forward as a unit, and they were doing neither at the end of the first half. Second half, I thought it was really smart of Seattle to take out Dempsey. I thought the game was going to get chippy, and the field was terrible, and it wasn't worth the injury risk to have him in there. And so I thought that was a really smart play. I thought it was really smart from Houston and Cabrera to move from whatever formation they were using the first half after the red card to switch it to a 4-3-2. So almost like a Christmas tree formation. They were this, and then they were getting more narrow as they went forward. But they moved Elise up top, and they didn't have his vulnerability on defense really at risk for them. And again, I thought that was a smart play from Cabrera and Houston, and it gave them a couple of chances too. Manotas in the 51st minute, just agonizing for Houston fans there. Amazing individual effort. He dribbled through 3 or 4 players wide open, and he went with a toe poke and just poked it wide. I mean, looking back now, he probably should have gone with the inside part of his foot and tried to place it, but easy for me to say. I'm sitting here on my couch. He's out there, semifinals of the MLS. Seattle was letting the game get a little open, and there's no excuse for them letting the game get open when they're up a man. I mean, their defense was just sagging way too far back, and they were getting stretched, and they didn't need to do that. They're up a man, just move forward slowly in possession, and I thought they started to do that a little bit better as the half wore on. But early in the half, they were just opening things up, which played right into Houston's hands, and Houston had a number of decent chances that, if things bounce a different way, this match ends 2-1 or even 2-2, Seattle would really be kicking themselves. Houston got some chances on the break. Houston, so in the grand scheme of things, especially in the second half, Houston played about as well as you could expect. So if I'm a Houston fan, I mean, yeah, it sucks that we ended up getting the red card, but I can at least take solace in the fact that they played as well as I could have expected in the second half. They were organized defensively, didn't concede a ton of great chances to Seattle. Seattle did have a couple open nets that they completely blew. Houston had a couple half chances and got out on the break a little bit. So ultimately, I mean, Houston played about as well as you could expect from a team down a man for 70 minutes, especially in the second half. I thought Svensson and Roldan played really, really well, had a ton of good interceptions in central midfield. I thought they played well. It wasn't a penalty for me on the Torres and Elise situation towards the end of the match. It was just a slight nudge from Torres, and I thought Elise was looking to go down. I don't know, in the 92nd minute, Houston, what are you doing? Why are you taking a short corner there? It's basically your last opportunity to go for something, and you need to get organized, swing a decent ball into the box. They played it short and got it stolen out wide after 1 or 2 passes. That was incredibly frustrating for, I'm sure, for Houston fans out there. Seattle missed that tap in the last minute, but I don't think it's going to prove too troubling for them. So those were my thoughts. Again, the match ended 2-0 to Seattle, who was on the road. And yeah, so that was what I saw throughout the match. Let me know if you agree with what I saw, disagree, if you have anything that I missed. Love to hear it in the comment section. And yeah, we will be back soon with another rapid match recap for you anytime soon. Thank you all for watching. I will talk to you guys very soon. See ya. Bye.